Have you ever wondered why we think, or how we think? You are constantly thinking, and your brain is constantly working to help navigate you through this world we live in. Cognition is any mental activity or process related to thinking, remembering, knowing, or communicating. Most of this lecture will be focused on the thinking portion of cognition. Thinking is a mental activity that is involved in the understanding, processing, and communicating of information. Thinking is made possible through the use of symbols, concepts, and prototypes. A symbol is an object or an act that stands for something else. For example, the American flag is a symbol for our nation. You can also find symbols in language. When you do math, a plus sign signifies addition, and a minus sign signifies subtraction. A concept is a mental grouping of similar objects, events, states, ideas, or people. A lot of the time, a concept can be communicated by an image or a word. For example, if I say the word chair, you know that I'm talking about something you can sit on. We learn a concept through experiences. Concepts like a ball or vegetables are learned through pointing in childhood. For example, you point to a baseball and say ball, and then you point to a basketball and say ball. This is categorizing the different types of balls into a concept. When we think about a concept, we usually have a visual image of the best example of the concept. This image is called a prototype. This prototype best exemplifies the characteristics of a concept. Looking back on the chair, what is your prototype of a chair? If I show you this, is this what you think of when you see a chair? Or do you think of one of these? Prototypes can often fail us, and some examples can stretch our definitions of prototypes. For example, is a stool a chair? Or is the ocean blue? If I asked you to define a bird, most people would say an animal with feathers that flies. If that is a bird, is a penguin a bird? These are all ways in which prototypes can be wrong. Within cognition, there are three types of thinking. First, we have convergent thinking. Convergent thinking is limited to all the facts that we know of, so we look at a problem or task and narrow the options to one solution. The next type of thinking is divergent thinking. With divergent thinking, the mind is able to come up with multiple options for solving problems. This allows for more free-flowing thought and creativity. The final type of thinking is called metacognition. Metacognition is thinking about thinking. Metacognition dates back to Aristotle, but was made popular by John Flavel in 1979. There are two parts to metacognition. Metacognitive thought consists of knowing how you or others think. For example, you know how you learn the best when studying for an exam. Metacognitive experiences consist of activities such as reflecting on your thoughts. For example, wondering why you thought the answer in your test was France when you already knew the answer was Germany. The next aspect of cognition is problem solving. Problem solving is the thinking we do in order to answer complex questions or to figure out how to resolve an unfavorable situation. I will explain the four methods of problem solving, and then I will go through a single example using three methods to help understand the differences. The first method is called trial and error. Trial and error involves trying various possible solutions, and if each one fails, trying others as well. This is perfect for inventing something like the light bulb that took thousands of attempts to find the proper filament. The problem with trial and error is that if there is a clear solution, trial and error can make you miss the goal. Next is algorithms. This involves a step-by-step strategy for solving a problem, where you methodically lead towards a specific solution. If done properly, an algorithm will always lead to a solution. Heuristics is a shortcut, step-saving thinking strategy or principle which generates a quick solution. This relies on guessing what the correct answer could be and moving from there. The guess is typically an educated guess or a rule of thumb. Heuristics are faster than algorithms, but are not as reliable. And the final problem-solving method that we'll talk about is called insight. With insight, you get a sudden realization or a leap forward in thinking that leads to a solution. This is the aha moment, when the light bulb finally clicks. You are able to gather information and you suddenly get it. We get a sense of satisfaction when the answer pops into our head. And insight is also what makes us laugh when we get the punchline of a joke. Let's do a quick example to put three of these methods to the test by using the example of finding taco sauce in a grocery store. If we use trial and error, we would wander the store at random to find it. We may go to the produce section or the meat section and keep looking around until we stumble upon it. With algorithms, we would methodically look on every shelf, up and down every aisle until we found it. With heuristics, we'd look only in the related aisles. We would check the Hispanic food aisle first because we know that taco sauce is used on tacos, and that is where we find other taco-related food items. As you can see, heuristics is the best method for problem solving, but you must have some previous knowledge for it to work. Sometimes we can experience obstacles to problem solving. The first obstacle is confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is our tendency to search for information which confirms our current theory, disregarding contradictory evidence. Basically, what it is saying is if I am right, then fact A will confirm my theory. I must look for fact A. In scientific practice, we say, if I am right, then fact B will disprove, or at least disconfirm my theory, so I must search for fact B. A mental set is the tendency to approach problems using a model that has previously worked. Just because one method to solve a problem worked in the past, doesn't mean it will work for the problem you are dealing with right now. Fixation is the tendency to get stuck in a way of thinking, creating an inability to see the problem from a new perspective. There are a few ways to get around these problems. It is important to try to boost creativity in order to solve more complex problems. In order to boost your creativity, you must become an expert in the field you are working in. You need to leave time for incubation, meaning you need your mind to have plenty of time to digest the problem. And finally, you need to allow for mental wandering. This allows your brain to get away from fixations and mental sets in order to think differently about the problem. I hope you were able to gain some understanding on the way humans think. Thank you so much for watching. This has been our episode on cognition.